If you have years of experience but your income has not caught up to it, the problem is not your ability. The problem is how that experience is positioned, translated, and applied in the market. Many professionals assume that more effort or more learning will close the gap, but effort without directions creates frustration, not results. You have likely spent years solving problems, supporting teams, navigating pressure, and delivering outcomes that mattered in real environments. Those experiences are not random events that happen to you. They are structured proof of what you know how to do. Yet most people never stop long enough to examine what those patterns reveal about their true value. The reason this matters is simple. The market does not pay for effort. The market pays for clarity. When your experience is clear, it becomes valuable. When it is unclear, it becomes overlooked, even if it is significant. That gap between what you have done and how it is understood is where most professionals lose opportunity. Many people believe they need to start over in order to move forward. They think a new path requires a new beginning, and that belief causes them to ignore the depth they already carry. Starting over sounds clean and safe, but it often leads to repeating the same struggle in a different place because nothing about the underlying positioning has changed. When you look closely, you will see that you are not starting from zero. You are starting from depth. Every role you have held, every challenge you have faced, and every problem you have solved has added layers to your capability. Those layers hold value, but they remain hidden when you do not know how to extract them. The issue is not that your experience lacks value. The issue is that it has not been translated into something the market can recognize. Translation is the bridge between what you have done and what someone is willing to pay for. Without that bridge, your experience stays buried in job descriptions and past responsibilities. Another reason experience does not convert into income is positioning. Positioning determines how your experience is seen and understood. If your experience is presented as tasks, it feels replaceable. If it is presented as outcomes and problem-solving ability, it becomes valuable. The difference between those two is not your experience itself. It is how you communicate it. Packaging is the third factor that most people overlook. You can have clear experience and strong positioning, but if it is not packaged in a way that people can engage with, it will not move. Packaging is how your experience becomes accessible. It turns what you know into something that can be delivered, shared, or applied in a structured way. When translation, positioning, and packaging are missing, people assume the problem is their skill level. They go back to learning, collecting more information, and adding more credentials. That approach feels productive, but it often delays progress because it avoids the real issue, which is clarity. Clarity changes everything. When you become clear about what you have done repeatedly, you begin to see patterns. Those patterns reveal the types of problems you solve best, the environments where you perform strongest, and the outcomes you consistently produce. That is where your value lives. Take a moment and think about the problems you have solved more than once. Not the tasks you completed, but the situations you improved. Maybe you stepped into confusion and created structure. Maybe you took something broken and made it work again. Maybe you helped people understand something they could not see before. Those are not small actions. Those are indicators of value. When you identify those patterns, you begin to move differently. Instead of asking what you should learn next, you start asking how to use what you already know in a way that aligns with what people need. That shift alone changes how you approach opportunities, conversations, and decisions. Most professionals underestimate the value of repetition. If you have solved a problem once, that is experience. If you have solved it multiple times, that is expertise. The market does not reward isolated success as much as it rewards consistent results. Consistency builds confidence, and confidence builds demand. At this point, the goal is not to add more to your plate. The goal is to extract what is already there. You begin by reviewing your past through a different lens. Instead of listing responsibilities, you identify outcomes. Instead of focusing on roles, you focus on results. This approach brings your experience into focus. Once you see those results clearly, you connect them to real needs in the market. Every result you have produced solves a problem someone else is currently facing. When you can match your experience to that problem directly, your value becomes easier to understand and easier to communicate. This is where many people hesitate. They wait for permission, validation, or confirmation before moving forward. They want to be sure they are ready before they present what they know. That hesitation keeps them in a cycle of preparation instead of progress. You do not need to wait until everything is perfect. You need to be clear enough to move. Clarity creates momentum, and momentum creates refinement. As you begin to apply your experience in new ways, you will see what works, what needs adjustment, and where you can improve. Another key shift is moving from guessing to understanding. Guessing leads to scattered effort. Understanding leads to focused action. When you understand your experience, you make decisions based on insight instead of uncertainty. That changes the quality of your outcomes. Experience shortens the path when it is used correctly. It allows you to see what others miss, avoid unnecessary mistakes, and move with confidence in situations that would overwhelm someone else. That advantage is often invisible to you because it feels normal, but it is valuable to others. You also begin to recognize that your experience can work outside the environment where you gained it. Many people limit themselves to the context in which they learned something, but skills and insights can transfer across industries, roles, and opportunities. The key is understanding the underlying function of what you do, not just where you did it. When you shift your focus in this way, you stop chasing options and start creating them. Options are not something you wait for. They are something you build by aligning your experience with real needs. The more clearly you can make that connection, the more opportunities begin to appear. This is not about exaggerating what you have done or presenting yourself as something you are not. It is about recognizing what is already true and making it visible. You are not inventing value. You are uncovering it. As you move forward, keep your attention on clarity, not complexity. You do not need complicated systems or elaborate strategies to begin. You need a clear understanding of your experience and a willingness to apply it intentionally. Think about the difference between someone who knows what they bring and someone who is still trying to figure it out. The first person moves with confidence because they understand their value. The second person hesitates because they are uncertain. That difference affects how others respond to them. When you are clear, your communication changes. You speak with precision instead of general statements. You describe outcomes instead of responsibilities. You show how you think, not just what you have done. That level of clarity makes people pay attention. It also changes how you evaluate opportunities. Instead of asking if you qualify, you ask if your experience aligns. That shift puts you in a position of choice instead of waiting to be chosen. It changes your posture from reactive to intentional. The process is not complicated, but it requires attention. You review your experience, identify patterns, translate those patterns into value, position that value clearly, and package it in a way others can engage with. Each step builds on the one before it. As you continue, you will see that what once felt scattered begins to come together. Your past starts to make sense in a new way. The connections become clearer, and the path forward becomes more defined. At that point, the question is no longer, what should you do next? The question becomes, how you will use what you already have. That is a different level of thinking, and it leads to different results. Your experience has always had value. It was never random, and it was never wasted. The only thing missing was clarity. Now that you can see it, you have the ability to use it. You are not starting over. You are starting from depth. That depth gives you an advantage, and when you learn how to apply it, it becomes the foundation for what comes next.